Well, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to episode number 262 of Buddhist Biohacker. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Buddhist Biohacker, and I am Lisa Gunshore, your host and mystic guide. Welcome in. And thanks so much for joining me here tonight. For all of you joining in the live chat, you are welcome to ask questions and share comments. Always love to hear where you are in the world. And if you're watching this on replay or listening to this on audio, you can connect with me on any of my social media platforms to continue the discussion. So tonight we're talking about fallen empires and the ice prophecy. We're going to get into the occult symbolism of what happened last week. So I want to start out just by kind of sharing my thoughts about the plane crash that happened last week. And then we're going to get into the mysticism of this because it's pretty rich after the research that I've been doing. I want to be sensitive to what happened because it's sad. It's sad and there's loss. And so, I want to talk about the bigger picture, the galactic view, the 50,000 foot view of what happened. But I also want to share a little bit about what I've been feeling about it. So, anytime a global event occurs, and this would be one of them, this plane crash in Washington, D.C., it affects us. And it's not just me as a psychic medium, it's anyone and everyone. We're affected by it. We want to understand it. A lot of us, were woken up and didn't sleep. And for those of us that are more sensitive to energy, it affects us in other ways. So I just kind of want to share my experience. I think that's something I haven't done very often on YouTube. It's something I want to do more of. So I woke up about 2 o'clock in the morning after this happened. I believe this happened at like 9 or 10 Eastern time. Didn't know about it. Woke up at 2 in the morning, just feeling very disturbed, and enough that I grabbed my phone pretty quickly and was trying to see what was going on with the energy and saw what had happened. And then I couldn't sleep at all because I was up with that. The other thing that happened to me, and does happen quite often with events like this, is I started experiencing some of the transitions of the people involved. So in this particular case, it was a younger, light-haired gal who was transitioning after an explosion. And I saw that. And, that's all I'll say out of respect for whom I think that is. But it's just part of what happens to me. And I can share, like 9/11 was like this. Many events have been like this for me where you're just disturbed. Something about it is disturbing, and the loss of life is also disturbing. And then I have events where those that have lost their lives are, sharing information or wanting to connect. So that was last week. Well, I think the other thing that happened, and obviously it's happened with many people because of the amount of conversation and YouTube videos and all the people doing it, and I'm out here doing it too, is that something doesn't feel right. It doesn't make sense. It's not a clean energy. And when I say that, what I mean is, when somebody has an accident, there can be a clean energy to it where it's like, oh, this accident happened, totally makes sense, life goes on. And then there are other events that are mysterious. They're strange and they're disturbing, and there's a lot of questions, and how it's handled is disturbing. And it just makes us wonder a lot of things, right? And this is where all the conspiracy theories and truthers, they catch a bad rap, but they're really just investigators, right? They're investigating because they don't trust the information that they've been given, or they think there's more behind it. And this is definitely one of these cases where there's a lot more behind it than what we think. The other thing I'll say before I get into the nuts and bolts of this is that I think that there are multiple layers and multiple dimensions involved in things like this. And again, just to go back to 9/11, I think same thing. It's a convergence of a lot of different timelines and energies that converge in one place. So, yes, there's like human 3D, three-dimensional experience of an accident or an explosion or airplanes, right? That had to do with 9/11 too, right? There's these things, those are very human things, but then there's these symbolic, powerful things. And then there's also other things going on behind the scenes that make us wonder as well. And they kind of all converge. And I think that's what's happened in this incident. And so I want to just kind of go through some of the strange things, and then I want to talk about the symbolism, because I think that what I discovered in my own research today is some really powerful symbolism around what this plane crash really means and what it's really standing for, regardless of what the narratives are, the stories behind it, or things we may not even ever find out, right? So here's some strange things. This airplane had figure skaters on it. And this really stuck out to me because I knew that there was a plane crash in our past that also had figure skaters. So I kind of want to just start out with this whole thing here and this information. So I'm going to share a couple of things on my screen. So let me pull this up here. Maybe. Okay, hold on. Maybe I can't share it. Let me see if I can take a screenshot. Sorry, y'all. Okay, so in 1961, there was a plane crash with U.S. figure skaters. Okay, so I'm going to share this screenshot. That'll be the best thing to share here. Hold on. Sorry. We're in this together. Okay, here we go. So here is the headline. And this is an article about this plane crash. So we're going to talk about this first. So let me bring this up. Okay, so there you go. You can see that here. So, oh, hi, Patrick. Oh, I'm so happy to see you. Patrick Keller here with us. Yeah. Patrick's the one who taught me about StreamYard, so he gets all the credit. Welcome in. All right, so we're going to get really deep in the weeds with some weird stuff tonight. Okay, so first off, 1961 plane crash that devastated skating. Okay, so in 1961, on February 15th, so just a couple weeks different from this other flight, Flight 548, a Boeing 707, crashed in Brussels, Belgium, while en route to the World Figure Skating Championships. 72 people on board passed away, and this included the entire U.S. figure skating team, coaches, officials, and family members. So this was such a huge incident that the 1961 crash led to an establishment of the U.S. Figure Skating Memorial Fund to support aspiring skaters and to memorialize the skaters that were lost. So first off, that happened, okay? And similar, amounts of people, 72 versus the 67 from last week. And both of these plane crashes led to the U.S. figure skating having this big loss, okay? So the other thing that's peculiar, just kind of weird about this, is the details of the crash in 1961. So February 15th, 1961, the flight was leaving New York City, JFK Airport, to Brussels. And they really don't know the exact cause of that flight crash. Still don't know. Still unknown. There's a few things they think it was. They think there was a mechanical malfunction. They think the stabilizer trim system was jammed. And there was also pilot error and confusion. The aircraft went into holding patterns and it delayed landing. Exact same as last week, right? They had to delay their landing. They shifted from runway 1 to runway 33. In this case, in 1961, same thing. They went into a holding pattern. Landing was delayed. They think the crew might have mishandled the controls, and then the plane went into an uncontrolled descent. It stalled out and it spiraled uncontrollably towards the airport. So it was also landing. It was also at the airport. Okay. So this is like phase 1 of this strange information. Okay. So first off, we have 2 separate plane crashes, almost 50 years apart-ish, with ice skaters. Super sad. Not just the skaters, but their coaches, their family members lost. Both plane crashes are unknown about what exactly, I mean, we know what happened, but we don't know why it happened last week. But with the other plane, they don't know why it just all of a sudden crashed. Unknown. Okay, so that bugs me, right? Mysterious, strange, peculiar. And I'll remind everybody, I'm a Scorpio, so we can't help ourselves, and Pluto rules my 8th house. So I can't help myself, but want to understand more about these mysterious things that happened. Okay, so there's that. So that's strange, these 2 figure skaters. So let's talk about something else that's very strange. Let me pull this up. Again, I think I'm going to have to take a screenshot. Sorry, y'all. I should have done this in advance. Okay, so here's your next kind of strange thing. The day of the crash, January 29th, Tanya Harding joins X. Also very strange. So she joined X. She made this video announcing that she never thought she'd join, but here she is. And it was just a few hours. I think it was early afternoon. It was a few hours before the crash happened. Okay. The day after the crash happened, I really hope I can share all of this here with you guys. The day after the crash happened, Nancy Kerrigan, let me share that screenshot if I can. Doesn't look like I can. I don't know why I can't, but I'm not going to bother with the screenshot here. But day after the crash, Nancy Kerrigan comes on to social media and is very upset for the loss of the skaters. So all of a sudden, we have Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan showing up on social media before and after this crash with the skaters. Also weird, I think. I think it's weird. So I did some digging around because this is all pretty strange, right? So what does it have to do with anything? And this gets really interesting. Okay, so first off, Nancy Kerrigan is connected to the Boston Skating Club. Okay, and that the Skating Club of Boston is where these skaters were from that lost their lives last week. Okay, I searched it up. And it turns out that most of the skaters on the 1961 flight were also from the Skating Club of Boston in 1961. So there's another kind of just strange thing. Like they've now lost people from this club in both of these accidents. And Nancy Kerrigan is connected to the Boston Skating Club. Tanya Harding is not. Okay. So again, Nancy Kerrigan, longstanding association with the Skating Club of Boston. She went on saying she, is supporting her community. She doesn't hold an official role right now, but she's engaged with the Boston Skating Club. Okay, you want to get into another strange thing. Let's talk about Dick Button. So Dick Button, Richard Totten Button, Dick Button, was a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. He was the youngest male figure skating champion in Olympic history at age 18 in 1948. He is the only American man currently to have won back-to-back Olympic gold medals. He's a 5-time consecutive world champion. He's the first skater to land a double axel. He's the first skater to land a triple jump. Okay, he's also a broadcasting legend. He was a figure skating analyst for ABC. Dick Button passed away on the 30th, the day after this crash. Dick Button was a member of the Boston Skating Club. Just another strange thing. These are all just interesting things. So the first thing I want to talk about is Tonya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan and what that represents, because I think there's an interesting occult symbolism to who they are, and it gives us some insight into maybe why this is showing up right now. So let's talk about Nancy Kerrigan and Tonya Harding. First off, they're the light and shadow archetypes. So Nancy Kerrigan is portrayed as the light in the narrative. She was graceful, elegant, disciplined. And Tonya Harding was portrayed as the shadow archetype. She was rebellious, raw. She represented a struggle against elitism. And in Jungian philosophy, their rivalry is the battle between the persona and the shadow. The persona is the socially accepted Nancy Kerrigan, the shadow being the repressed self, Tonya Harding. So this is all about duality. And in order to have balance, both characters have to exist. So we have to have Tonya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan both. Okay. The attack on Nancy Kerrigan's knee before the 1994 Olympics is symbolic of Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron was a centaur in Greek mythology. He was struck by a poisoned arrow and he was destined to carry his wound, but gain wisdom from it. Wherever Chiron is in your astrological chart, it's the wounded healer and it's your wound. In the occult wisdom, an injury to your leg or your knees, which, as you remember, those of us that were alive, Nancy Kerrigan had injury to her knee, symbolizes being forced to surrender, slow down, or undergo a transformation. So her recovery and her return to ice skating showed resilience through suffering, which is a key theme in alchemy. Okay, so she was resilient through the suffering. She showed back up. Okay. Now, when you look at the hero's journey, both Kerrigan and Harding are the two halves of the hero's journey. So Nancy Kerrigan underwent the trial of injury and emerged victorious. Tonya Harding, through infamy and exile, represents the fallen star. It's akin to Lucifer, the fallen angel, or Icarus, who flew too close to the sun. That's what Tonya Harding represents. And in Tarot, Kerrigan is linked to the Chariot, which we talked about on my show earlier today, while Tonya Harding aligns with the Tower. The Chariot for Nancy Kerrigan, overcoming obstacles with discipline. Harding is the Tower, chaotic downfall and destruction. Now, here's what I find interesting is they represent an alchemical rivalry, which is metal versus ice. And this is where we start to get down quite a rabbit hole, because we're going to talk about the airplanes next. But figure skating is an art of control over ice. And it's actually a metaphor for emotional and subconscious mastery. The metal pipe that was used as an attack on Nancy Kerrigan is an intrusion of brute force onto the grace of ice, symbolizing fire and ice, a clash of opposing elements. And this relates to alchemy because opposites merge to create transformation. So the Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding saga is a modern myth of duality, fate, and the battle between the accepted and the outcast, which is really significant. It shows how light and shadow must coexist, how falling from grace and redemption are two sides of the same mystical journey. Okay? So we have this interesting symbolic message about this duality that as it clashes, there's transformation created from this. And they're showing up in the middle of all of this. Fire and ice. Metal and ice. Metal and ice. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about last week and the symbolism. So again, I'm talking about the symbolism. I'm not talking about the actual crash, but what it symbolizes. So I definitely have always paid attention to animal totems, and I really picked up on the fact that this was a Black Hawk helicopter and an American Eagle airplane. So I started to dig into the hawk and the eagle, and this is where my head totally exploded and why we're doing this show tonight for the most part. So let's talk about what a hawk symbolizes. So the hawk is the messenger of the gods. It's a symbol of foresight, precision, hidden knowledge. It's linked to the Egyptian god Tehotet and Hermes. The hawk is also the initiate's vision. A hawk is known for sharp vision and tactical strikes. So it symbolizes awareness, cunning, and strategic movement. The hawk is solar intelligence. It's Horus in Egyptian mythology, the god of kingship and divine order. It was depicted as a hawk or a falcon. The hawk is also an agent of change. So the hawk striking the eagle suggests a shift in leadership, rebellion, or a foretold downfall of a ruler or empire. Okay, so that's the hawk. So what's the eagle? The eagle is associated with supreme power and authority. The eagle is an imperial symbol linked to Roman emperors, the United States, and divine kingship. The eagle is also divine right and sovereignty. So many cultures see the eagle as the bird of Jupiter or Zeus, and it represents rulers, gods, and high levels of power. The eagle is also spiritual ascension. It's depicted soaring above the mundane world, and it represents higher consciousness and divine enlightenment. It's also the old order. It can be the fall of an empire, divine authority being challenged, or the end of an era. So here's where this gets juicy. What is the occult meaning of a hawk taking out an eagle? Ready? Reversal of power. A lesser force strategically outmaneuvering a greater one. The hawk, the underdog, the hidden initiate, or the challenger takes down the eagle, the ruler, the old order. It's also the rise of the hidden king. The hawk, as a messenger of the gods, might be an agent of divine justice, overthrowing a corrupt or outdated power. In alchemy and in esoteric war strategy, a hawk is a tactician striking precisely rather than overpowering. The eagle represents great civilizations, Rome, America, the illuminated rulers, etc. The eagle being taken down by a hawk suggests a fated collapse. Okay, so in Egyptian mythology, Horus, or the hawk, defeats Set, chaos and power. In the Roman Empire, the double-headed eagle of Rome fell due to smaller forces eroding their power over time. The eagle is also a dying order before a rebirth. It's the phoenix rising from the ashes. The hawk of Horus challenging the eagle of Zeus is a metaphor for old gods versus new gods, changing cosmic energies or shifts in collective consciousness. So what does this mean? The hawk taking down an eagle. If this vision happened recently, it could symbolize the decline of a powerful nation or a leadership shift. It may suggest you are overthrowing an outdated belief structure or authority in your life. Many ancient cultures believed such an event as a hawk taking out an eagle was an omen of coming revolution or great transformation. A hawk taking out an eagle is an ominous sign of power shifts, rebellions, and the fall of mighty forces. It suggests what was once seen as untouchable, the eagle, the establishment, is now vulnerable to a smaller but sharper force, the hawk, the rebel. So we got more to say. I got more to say because we're going to get into ice skaters now. But how powerful is that? That is a direct symbolism of what is currently happening in the United States. So regardless of what actually happened, the symbolism, the totem, the medicine, or the message of what happened is saying that the rebel force is taking out the establishment. And it just makes you think, like, oh, this is interesting. And then you have Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan, and they're representing duality, the alchemical process of bringing together opposites to create transformation. It's interesting. So now I want to talk about the symbolism of ice and ice skaters, because this gets really interesting. So what is ice? Ice is the element of water frozen in time. So ice represents preservation and hidden depths beneath the surface. So skaters moving across ice symbolizes a balance between fluidity and stillness, emotion and control. Also, in many esoteric traditions, winter is a time of death and rebirth. So skating can represent moving through this transition with skill and grace. Frozen water is also a metaphor for the veil between worlds. It's a metaphor for boundary between dimensions. It's about moving between realities or communicating with the unseen. So an ice skater as an occult archetype is the balance between chaos and control. So skating requires discipline and effortless flow, which is the Hermetic principle of polarity in the Kabbalion, where opposites must be mastered, which takes us back, by the way, to the duality or the opposites of Harding and Kerrigan. Skaters also execute choreographed routines. So they have a choreographed routine or the dance of fate, but they also have free will. They may have unexpected slips or environmental changes, much like navigating destiny. You can have your choreographed dance of fate, but you also have free will and you have things that might change around you. There's also a trickster energy to ice skaters. Skaters symbolize the illusion of effortlessness, masking the hidden struggle beneath. So you think of the swan archetype. They're serene up top, but they're paddling super furious underneath the water. So how does ice skating connect with alchemical symbolism or alchemy? So first off, the Philosopher's Stone, and we've been talking about this a lot in my tarot classes here on YouTube, but ice is a suspended state. It is a moment before transformation. So this is the alchemical process awaiting activation. It's also a thin line between mastery and catastrophe, right? Because there's a delicate balance with ice. A single misstep can lead to a fall, injury, even death. You can fall through the ice, right? Skating is also a ritual of precision and transcendence. So the perfection of movement on ice echoes the geometric and mathematical precision found in occult sigils and sacred geometry. So some of the mythological parallels here is the Ice Queen. Okay, the myth of the Ice Queen who exists between life and death. She embodies beauty and danger. Hecate and the triple goddess. So the figure skater mimics the three phases of the moon, the maiden, mother, and crone, and the triple goddess. That's also transition and initiation. And also the cosmic dance, Shiva's cosmic dance, symbolizing the creation and destruction of worlds. Believe it or not, there's an occult interpretation of competitive ice skating. I looked it up. It's ritualized combat. That's what it is. Ice skating competitions are ritualized combat, but instead of weapons, they're using technique, grace, and dominance. There's also a paradox between blood and ice. So falls, injuries, and struggles in figure skating go unseen beneath the polished skeptical. It mirrors the hidden sacrifices behind spiritual mastery. And skaters are judged, right? They're judged on form, execution, presentation. Anybody who watches figure skating sees that. This is an ancient concept of divine judgment, similar to the Egyptians weighing the heart against a feather in a ceremony. So ice skaters are actually mystical alchemists. They embody grace under pressure. They have mastery over unstable forces. And there's hidden discipline behind what seems to be effortless beauty. So I just want to walk through my thoughts, and I'd love to hear what you think. And I'd love to hear what this brings up for you, or questions that you have, or whatever. But I just want to walk this through. The hawk, a symbol of strategy, foresight, and messengers of divine will. The hawk represents those who operate with precision and intelligence, often seen as warriors or rebels challenging the old order. Was the hawk last week operating with precision and intelligence? Was it really an accident, or was there intelligence behind it? Don't know. Throwing it out there. Or is this challenging the old order in some way? Was this a message being sent? Don't know. The eagle, a representation of empire, dominance, divine kingship, and the ruling elite. The eagle is a sign of supreme power and the divine right to rule. Who are those people? Right? A hawk taking down an eagle. This is a paradigm shift, a rebellion against the existing power structure. It suggests that a once dominant force, the eagle, is being overthrown by a more calculated challenger, the hawk. This could symbolize the fall of a government, an empire, or an elite force that was once seen as untouchable. Occult meaning, the old order is collapsing, the underdog is rising. Skaters riding on the eagle. Ice skaters represent balance, grace, and mastery over chaos. They have the ability to move effortlessly over unstable ground, much like leaders or societies trying to maintain control over unpredictable forces. When a skater is riding an eagle, it suggests that those in power, the skaters, are reliant on a once mighty structure, the eagle, to maintain their balance. If the eagle is taken down, the skaters riding on it will also fall, meaning institutions, figures, or systems that depended on that power structure will collapse as well. Occult meaning, influential figures or elites are being brought down along the system with the system they depended on. A graceful yet fragile existence is ending suddenly, and a false sense of control is being exposed. Those who thought they were untouchable are falling. So, were the skaters aware? If they had known it was falling, that could symbolize denial, right? Were they innocent? Of course they were. If they were unaware of the impending fall, it suggests the collateral damage of power struggles, those caught in the downfall of greater forces. Who are they representing to all of us? Which could be why it's so disturbing. The illusions of power and grace are shattered. Those who thought they were immune to destruction will fall along with the system they supported. So what is the prophetic meaning of this event? What is the prophetic meaning? A great power, the eagle, will fall, and those who relied on it, the skaters, will go down with it. The challenger, the hawk, is not stronger, but is more precise and strategic. It represents hidden forces, rebellion, and divine justice. What was untouchable is now vulnerable. The balance is being disrupted. The hawk is the disruptor, the cosmic force of change, and the eagle is the old empire. Its time has come, and the skaters are those who thought they were secure, but they were really riding an illusion of power. This is a warning, a global warning, or a spiritual revelation about karmic justice and the collapse of corrupt systems. So there's that. Now I want to touch on something that Robert Phoenix brought up on a post on X. He was talking about McKenna's velocity of novelty, which I looked up because I thought, what is that? So the velocity of novelty is tied to the time wave zero theory. This is all very interesting, but the basis of this is novelty increases over time, speeding up as we approach a transformative moment in history. So McKenna talks about as time goes on, as time progresses, the rate of change and innovation increases exponentially. And it says that as that happens, there can be cultural shifts and even occult cycles of transformation. It's like an alchemical quickening. And so if we apply the velocity of novelty to the recent shifts in our world, the increasing chaos, power struggles, symbolic events like the one that happened last week indicates we're in an accelerated phase of transformation. So the hawk taking out the eagle and the skaters riding on it could symbolize a moment of radical shift where the old power, the eagle, is taken down by the emerging force, the hawk, and that those that are unaware are caught in the collapse. So what do you think? I mean, that's my thoughts for today. It's a lot of thoughts because there's this very peculiar energy around this crash. And, I think there's a lot of information about what may or may not have actually happened or what's behind it. But just as I reminded all of you several months ago when I was talking about the princess over the water, it's important for us to look at the bigger picture. And so for me, while what happened is still disturbing, and I think a lot of us are still processing the loss of life last week, I think there's also this big message, this big loud message about the fall of the old and the emerging of the new and what it means. And I thought what the symbolism of the skaters and also the duality of Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding just brings up a lot of things to think about. So those are my thoughts for tonight. And like I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And I'm happy to talk about this more if we want to. But I just think that totem, that symbolism is super powerful. It was a big message that was sent to everyone last week. And the message itself, the fact that it was in Washington, D.C., is even more powerful and more interesting. And I do think that there's a connection with the crash in Philadelphia, being that is also one of the, birthplaces of our government. And there's a lot of history there. And so there's a lot happening there as well. So really appreciate you taking the time to listen. Like I said, I'd love to know your thoughts. And a lot to process. I'll get these notes out on social media so you all can look at those because it's a lot to think about. But the symbolism is really powerful. And of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to the families that lost loved ones last week. And I hope it makes all of you, I hope, for me, it definitely always puts me into a place of perspective. My whole work in my life has a lot to do with death. So I talk about it a lot, and I hear people talk about it a lot because of my work as a medium. And something like this can really put things into perspective. It's about thinking about who you care about, what you have left to accomplish in this life. What's your mission? What are you here to do? Because time is limited in these bodies. So with that, I'm going to close. Please like, subscribe, comment, as always, to support my algorithms here and keep the show going. And again, I'd love to just hear what you think. What do you think happened? What do you think this all means? It's a lot of interesting information. So thanks so much, everybody. Have a great night.